machines that weave flags run 22 hours a day in a warehouse outside Paterson, New Jersey. You can hear them from the parking lot, a mechanical thunder that rattles the windows of the cars people leave there before their shifts. Inside, industrial looms pull polyester thread through patterns at 17 yards per minute. The thread costs 0.03 cents per foot. The dye, firecracker red, navy blue, flat white, runs another $1.60 per flag. Labor, overhead, packaging, $2.37. Total manufacturing cost for one 3x5-foot American flag before markup, $4, give or take a nickel depending on the day's resin prices. The flag that comes off the line at 11:42 a.m. on a Tuesday in March is chemically identical to the fabric in your bed sheets. Same polymer base, same thread count, same breaking strength. You could sleep under it, and it would keep you exactly as warm as any other blanket. But this rectangle of cloth won't end up in anyone's bedroom. It will be folded into a triangle and handed to someone at a funeral, or burned in a street, or raised over a building where people will stand at attention while it moves up a pole. The question nobody asks at the factory is the one that makes sense of all of this. When, exactly, does the cloth stop being cloth? You think meaning is something people choose. That's the first mistake. In 1777, the Continental Congress passed a resolution describing the flag's design. 13 alternating red and white stripes, 13 stars on a blue field, but did not explain what any of it meant. No symbolism was attached. No allegory was offered. The resolution simply said, "This is what it looks like." The meaning came later, in speeches, in songs, in the stories people told about what they were fighting for. But the resolution itself was silent. It described a pattern, not a purpose. That silence was weight-bearing. A flag that the government declares means liberty cannot also mean oppression to the people on the other end of a bayonet. A flag that officially symbolizes justice cannot be waved at a lynching without creating cognitive dissonance that might, in some people, lead to doubt. But a flag that means nothing on its own, a flag that is just a described pattern, can be filled with whatever meaning the moment requires. In Virginia, it meant one thing. In Massachusetts, another. The flag was a container, not a content. That was the design. The soldier who carries the flag made in Paterson, let's call him Corporal Hayes, 23 years old, from a town in Idaho with one high school and 2 stoplights, does not think about the manufacturing cost. He does not think about polyester thread or dye lots or the warehouse where it was made. He thinks about his grandfather, who kept a flag folded in a glass case in the living room, and the way his grandfather's hands shook the one time Hayes asked him about the war. He thinks about the recruiter who sat across from him at the kitchen table and talked about service, about belonging to something bigger. He thinks about the way his chest tightened the first time he stood in formation and heard the national anthem, and how surprising it was to feel something so physical in response to a song. The flag he carries weighs 1.4 pounds. The meaning he carries on top of it weighs more than he does. Here's what the flag does. It takes 1,000 different feelings: pride, rage, grief, longing, spite, love, shame, defiance, hope, and gives them one shape. You can't carry an abstraction. You can't salute a concept. But you can fold cotton into a triangle and hand it to a widow. And in that gesture, every complicated thing you don't have words for gets compressed into something you can hold. The flag is a delivery mechanism. It transports meaning that's too big or too contradictory to move any other way. This is why people die for it. Not because the flag matters, but because what they poured into it does. In 2004, in Fallujah, a Marine lieutenant named Warren placed a flag on the hood of a destroyed vehicle and told his squad they were fighting for that. Not for oil, not for politics, not for any of the tangled reasons that put them there, just for the flag. It was a simplification so extreme it almost sounded stupid. But his squad understood. The flag was the one thing in that city they could point to and say, "This is ours. This is clear. This is what we're doing here." Everything else was smoke. Warren survived Fallujah. He came home and could not explain the war to his wife. Could not make her understand the noise, the fear, the arithmetic you do in your head when you're deciding whether to kick in a door. But when she asked him what it was like, he pointed to the small flag in their living room and said, "I thought about that." And she nodded, because in that moment, the flag was doing its job. It was holding something too big for language. The flag that comes off the line in Paterson does not know it will end up draped over Warren's coffin 8 years later, in a cemetery in North Carolina where the trees have started to turn. His widow will hold it folded in a triangle and will think, for just a second, about throwing it in the trash. Not because she doesn't love him, not because she doesn't respect his service, but because the weight of what that flag is carrying, her rage, her loneliness, the decade of waiting she still has to do before her daughter stops asking when daddy's coming home, is too much for $4 of cotton to bear. She does not throw it away. She puts it in the glass case her father-in-law kept his flag in, and the cycle continues. Here is the turn. The emptiness is the engine. The flag works because it contributes nothing. A stone has weight. A tree has roots. A river has a direction. These things have substance, and substance resists. You cannot make a river mean freedom if the river is busy meaning water. But cloth? Cloth is just geometry and dye. It will mean whatever you need it to mean, because it has no opinion of its own. This is true of almost everything people kill for. The border between two countries is not a real thing. It is an imaginary line that runs through mountains and deserts and rivers, marked on maps but invisible in the dirt. You cannot touch a border. You cannot weigh it. But people die defending it, crossing it, fleeing across it, because the emptiness of the line is exactly what allows it to be filled with lethal meaning. The line means safety on one side, danger on the other. The line means legal here, criminal there. The line means us and them, and the moment you accept the reality of the line, you accept the logic that makes killing across it something other than murder. The flag and the border are the same technology. Both are empty vessels. Both do their work by having no substance of their own. You are surrounded by these vessels. The diploma on your wall is a piece of paper that cost 80 cents to print. The wedding ring is metal and carbon. The deed to your house is a document in a filing cabinet that could burn. The value is not in the objects. The value is in what you agreed, what we all agreed, to pour into them. And once the meaning is inside, the object becomes sacred. You will fight to keep it. You will grieve if you lose it. You will, if the situation demands it, kill someone who tries to take it. The factory in Paterson does not stop. The looms run through the night, spitting out flags that will mean 100 different things to 100 different people. Some will be waved at parades. Some will be burned at protests. Some will be folded into triangles and handed to people whose hands shake when they take them. The cloth does not care. It never did. The last time Corporal Hayes saw a flag before he died, it was being raised over a firebase in Kandahar at dawn. The wind caught it and pulled it taut, and for a moment, backlit by the sun, it looked almost solid, like it was made of something heavier than thread and dye. He stood there and saluted it, and the thing he was saluting was not cloth. It was his grandfather's hands. It was the recruiter's promise. It was every story he had been told about what it means to serve. The flag held all of that, not because it could, but because it had to. Because he had nowhere else to put it. The cloth itself contributed nothing. That's why it worked. You have something like this. Everyone does. Some object, some idea, some line drawn on a map that you have filled with enough meaning that you would fight for it. The thing itself is empty, just cloth, just ink, just sound waves in the air. But you have poured your life into it, and now it feels like the only real thing in the world. You would be shocked how little it weighs if you tried to pick it up without the meaning attached. The question is not whether the flag is worth dying for. The question is, what else have you filled with so much meaning that you forgot it was empty to begin with?